The marathon is one of those races that brings out the best and the worst for many people. For the past century, we have seen millions of people participate in this 26.2-mile distance. And even though there have been many great and amazing performances over the past 5 or 6 years, there's something happening right now in the United States that is very troubling, and it is easily one of the worst ideas that I have seen in recent memory surrounding the marathon. Now, for the 2024 season, we of course have the Olympic Games in Paris, France, and I'm very much looking forward to that event. However, we still have to run the Marathon Olympic Trials, and apparently, we have made the bold, the weird, the completely unnecessary decision to have the United States Olympic Trials not just in Orlando, Florida, which certainly gets very, very hot, but we are going to have these Olympic Trials at noon on the men's and the women's sides. Now, the men's side is scheduled to go off at 12:10 in the afternoon, and the women's is scheduled to go off 10 minutes later at 12:20. Now, this might not seem like such a big deal, considering that they are going to run these trials on February 3rd, but we actually have the data on the previous 7 years for the average temperatures in Orlando, Florida. Going all the way back to 2016, the average temperatures at noon go as follows: 80 degrees, 75 degrees, 66, 69, 69, 51, and 78. Really, the only temperature here that is even worth running a marathon is the 2021 temperature of 51 degrees. Now, you might be wondering, why is temperature such a big deal? Well, many of you probably already know, but if you don't know, the temperature for a marathon is essential, and not just having a good race, but not having people die of heat stroke. If you're getting around 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 26 degrees Celsius, you're entering extremely dangerous temperatures for the marathon. Again, you will be required to run 26 miles, competing for more than 2 hours, and your body temperature is inevitably going to go higher. So very often, if you'll see a very hot race, you will see many people have extremely dangerous medical decisions to make on the course. Do I keep running and die of heat stroke? Do I keep running and almost faint? They have very difficult challenges when it comes to this kind of heat. Really, the ideal temperature for the start of a marathon is around 40 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit, or around 6 to 7 degrees Celsius. It really should not be that hard to find a location where you can run this kind of race in this kind of temperature. And I think the best way to go about this is just to not do this race in Orlando, Florida, or at least start it around 8 a.m. In my opinion, I think this is just a very dangerous decision, and I think the marathoners are going to suffer because of this. And I really do think that marathon racers are going to have an extremely difficult time meeting their standards and also just finishing the race. Now, it is very possible to still run a good performance in high heat. In fact, if we go back to the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing, China, the starting temperature was 74 degrees. However, that was in the shade, and it was actually 84 degrees on the course. You ask any athlete about that race that ran it, whether it be Ryan Hall or Dathan Ritzenhein, that was an extremely challenging race. In fact, if you look back at the results, you will only see 3 athletes that broke 2 hours in 10 minutes. The heat can definitely play a big toll on an athlete, but there's also another sneaky weather variable that could very well spell disaster in Florida, and that of course is the humidity. If you're from the South, or really anywhere near the South, you know that it gets hot and humid here, so the moment you step outside, you begin to sweat. And in a marathon, you can lose anywhere from 1 liter to 2 liters of sweat while you're running. Now, it is obviously very important to drink your fluids throughout the race, but when it comes to this kind of heat and humidity, it will be a challenge just to stay focused and stay fast throughout the entire race. Hopefully nobody suffers some kind of injury or some kind of negative medical consequence because of this race start, but it really does seem troubling that they're starting this marathon at noon. And now I'd love to hear from all of you guys. What do you think about this decision to start in Florida at noon? It might be February, but the history of the temperature just makes it look that much more dangerous. Thanks for watching, everyone. And as always, until next time.